Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Work-Life Balance Show Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And I do all hope, as always, that you are keeping safe and well. Now, joining me in the studio this afternoon via Zoom, I'm going to be joined by personal development consultant Patrick Callahan. Now, I hope I've actually pronounced his surname correctly. I'm sure he will let me know if I have in just one moment. Now, we're going to be talking about personal development, self-help, and really creating that lasting change. He's also creator of a One Source Personal Development Network. So please stay with us and we'll be back in just one moment. Okay, so it's Melissa Gale here, Work-Life Balance Show, and I'm joined by personal development consultant Patrick Callahan. Now, have I said that right, Patrick? I don't believe I have.
No, trust me, you've done far better than most. It's a very difficult one. No, you did fantastic.
You're being very kind. Thank you. So how are you? Welcome, and how are you?
I've never been better. Things are going fantastic. So I'm happy to be here, though.
Oh, lovely. And it's a pleasure to have you join the show this afternoon as well. So today we're going to be touching on a mixture of things really, but very much focusing around your business, your profession in developing people, helping them to grow, that self-help, and as I mentioned at the intro, creating hopefully lasting change.
Well, that's the key.
You're yeah. You're creator of One Source Personal Development Network. So before we sort of take a bit of a plunge into understanding, the concepts behind the personal development and how we get started and how it starts to sort of take shape as well, can you please provide the listeners with a little bit of an overview about yourself and your journey to this point in being founder of the
Sure.
organization?
Yeah. Well, look, it's kind of a long story, so I hope we have we have enough time. But
Not too long, not too long.
go make yourself a cup of coffee, maybe or something. But, no, truthfully, it started about 10 years ago. I was working as a business consultant, and at the time I was leading. Well, it was kind of a hectic lifestyle. I was working ungodly amounts of hours, doing a lot of traveling, which led to a lot of bad habits, eating the wrong foods, stressed out all the time, and I was just really burning the candle at both ends. And I ran into some health challenges because of my crazy workload and not looking after myself properly. I actually wound up having a heart attack. And when I
Wow.
had the heart attack, well, I ended up having to have surgery. And when I went in for the surgery, I was only supposed to be in for about 6 or 8 hours. And I actually wound up going into a coma for 4 days. And, well, obviously everything came out good. At the end, everything came out fine, thank God. But it really led me to taking a look at myself when I came through. I started really trying to make some changes in my life. And it all started with personal development. So I said that, what I would do is I would just really immerse myself in the whole field of personal development. So literally any type of seminar I could go to, any book that I could read, any audio program, any talks, anything like that at all.
Can I just ask Patrick, what was it about? So, I'm so pleased to hear, obviously, that in respect to such a difficult and I would imagine life-changing experience, a heart
Uh,
attack and in a coma for 4 days. Um, what was it about that was actually about personal development as such?
well,
Was the personal development focusing on the change about yourself in health? Is that what you mean by that when you're saying personal development in that way?
um, yes and no, and let me elaborate. When I say personal development, really in all areas of my life, because I believe the health is what kicked it off. Because obviously the stress and my bad habits that I had picked up, but it had basically bled into all areas of my life, from my growth,
Mm.
from to to my business, to my relationships, virtually every single aspect. But again, I think they're all connected anyway. I think health, growth, finances, and your relationships are all tied together.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So where did that then lead on to next? It was sort of like the personal development, that's what you were focusing on. So how did that all start to unfold for you?
Well, what I primarily did is I got involved with a bunch of different programs. I got very involved with Tony Robbins, um, and I became a student of neuroassociative conditioning, and it was great. It was Tony Robbins and a bunch of others, but primarily I kept noticing that. Well, it was kind of like two steps forward, one step back. Up and down, back and forth type of thing. I just wasn't really creating the lasting change that I was looking for. So I decided to create my own system, something that at the time I had never planned on even introducing to the public or anything like that. It was just, all I did was primarily I looked at all the programs that I had studied, and I kept noticing different common denominators. They all kind of were talking about very similar things. But the ones that really jumped out at me were focus, balance, and purpose. So I created the system around that.
Okay, okay. So is that you were saying that you embarked on various programs and there were common threads, but actually something was missing. What was that something that was missing? Was it tangible or just something that of an essence that you didn't feel was quite sort of being fulfilled within yourself?
Well, that's a great question. I tell you what I believe that was missing was a very easy to follow, simplistic system approach to it. Because a lot of these programs, and I'm not knocking any of them, there's some really great information out there, but they get you pumped up and they tell you, do this, do that, whatever, but they don't really provide the steps. I myself, I've always been a systems person. Like when I did business consulting, I would go in and I would do sales consulting, and I basically would meet with the salespeople and we would design a system. Or if it was a workflow process, we would design a system. So, like I say, that's what I wanted to do with personal development. Primarily,
Mm.
create a system for it.
And then you put that to the test, I take it.
But yeah, I put it to the test, and yeah, like I say, initially it was never meant to be for anybody other than myself. But I can tell you right now, I started using it 10 years ago, and I can honestly say at the time I was about 40 pounds overweight. My relationships, no way, shape, or form were they weren't where they should be. Um, my growth, I was stressed out. My health was just horrible. And now I've lost the weight. I've kept the weight off. My relationships have never been better. I've grown in areas that I never would have even dreamt possible. And again, I accredit it all to the system and primarily the steps that are involved.
Mm, mm. And when was that sort of, I mean, I don't know whether I'm sort of using the word which is correct for this, but was there an epiphany moment where you suddenly went, actually, you know what? It's these three steps, these three simple steps that we can look at here are because there are so many, whether it's personal development growth, whether it's eating programs, whatever it might be, there are so many of them out there, so many, and they might have 5 steps, 7 steps, then within those steps, 10 principles, 15 principles, and it can become very mind-boggling, and trying to identify which one would fit our
Yeah.
own personal experience. So when was that moment for you where it was, yeah, hang on, these are the three that are the key ones here?
Well, okay, yeah, no, that's great. I suppose the aha moment for me was, like I say, I was getting frustrated because I wasn't making the progress that I wanted to make, and I was always I don't know if you follow say David Allen's Getting Things Done (GTD) method for workflow. But again, this was something I was doing consulting in, and it was a system that he was using. So it just clicked with me one day that the penny dropped. What I'm missing is a system. And
Mm,
David Allen's system, GTD, again, nothing to do with personal development. It's all about workflow. but again, I've always been a big believer in systems. So once I identified that's what was missing, it was all I
Yeah.
did was just really just throw myself into studying everything to do with personal development. And it's they jump right out at you. Every one of them talk about focus, balance, and purpose. So all I did was create a easy to follow system of how you can actually work that into your lifestyle each and every day. How you can control and direct your focus, how you can make sure that everything is in balance, and how you could live with purpose.
Mm, mm. So what are we, with these three key areas then, um, what I believe and be understanding here, Patrick, as well, is that it's not one area in isolation. All of them complement one another. So this is it a program you go through, or actually we're talking about life changing ways of being in order for these changes within our relationships and our health, growth and finances. This is a new journey that people sort of embark on. Would that be right?
Yes, it's a lifestyle change, but primarily, um, what we would do as consultants is we would go in and we usually spend about an hour with an individual. And we do it through a number of different sessions. And the first session, primarily, what we would do is we would just concentrate on focus. And when I say focus, um, basically the four key areas that we like to direct their focus to would be, first off, their relationships, second off, their level of health and fitness, third, their personal growth, and then their finances. And finances can be a little bit tricky because people tend to, they have a lot of emotion when you start talking about finances. But I don't care what your beliefs are, how you feel about finances. It's not about money or anything like that, but primarily, if your finances are not in order, it's going to affect every single other area of your life. Your relationships are going to suffer. Stress is going to cause you to have health problems. You're not going to be able to grow by having the experiences that you want to have, if your finances aren't in order. So that's why I'd like to include that one there. But what we'll do is we'll work with the person for a period of time, like I say, the first session, and we'll identify in detail in the relationships which ones are the key things that the key relationships that they need to direct their focus to on a daily basis. What in
Mm.
their health do they want to identify as far as the key things, whether it be their hydration or their exercise or their diet or their sleep and rest? And then we'll do the same thing with their personal growth and their finances. So that's always the first step.
Yeah. Okay. And I suppose my question here is, how engaging do you find people are ready to embark on that change? Because for yourself, and this is something that I come across a lot, um, you know, we often have insight and understanding as to what is good for us, what is not so good for us. But actually we tend to ignore that. And life is really, really busy. And then forced change arises. There is a turning point. So for yourself, you had a heart attack and you were in a coma and you realize that change was needed. Do you find that you have a lot of your clients have experienced something like that then makes them sort of really think that they need to change, or is something going on for them that actually, they're trying to get ahead of that change before something forces a hand, for instance?
It's truthfully, it's a combination of both because I do a lot of work with clients on a one-to-one basis. We also work with different businesses as well, where we'll go in and we'll work with the staff as well. But I suppose the difference being is we're more teaching the system, so it's very non-invasive. I
Yeah.
can I can really work with the client for a number of sessions with knowing very little bit about their relationships or anything else that's really involved in the whole thing. By just, like I say, keeping everything the attention on learning the system. That's the trick for us anyway.
And is there like a period of time in which they develop, I think that might be the right word, develop and start to embrace this new way of being? How, so you have that first session.
Yes.
How do then those next steps unfold where habits or routines or things are being put in place for that transition to start to commence?
Yeah. Well, the way we like to do it, and well, actually, the way we do it exactly is there's 5 sessions that we do over a period of 30 days. Okay. So, and what we'll do is each step of the system, every time we have a new session, it introduces a new step to the system and it builds on the previous one. But then we also have daily interaction through either the likes of WhatsApp, email, or Zoom calls like this, but primarily email and WhatsApp is what we do. But we have daily interaction. And we also hold them accountable. And when I talk about accountability, is that we can go ahead and we can ask them to set goals, of how they want to do, again, without being invasive, because we don't even really, with the way, the nice thing about the system is we don't even really need to know anything about their relationships. But what we'll do is we'll ask them to set goals. How would you like to get on with your relationships this week on a 4-star system, between 1 and 4 stars? And then we ask them every day to go ahead and email us exactly how would they rate themselves, between 1 star being poor, 2 being average, 3 being good, 4 being excellent. So on a scale of 1 to 4 stars, how would you rate your relationships today? How would you rate your health? How would you rate your growth or your finances? And they send in the scores each and every day, so it's a point system. But what we do with that point system is the interesting thing. We can use that to create balance.
So that's our next step. Our next step is the balance part.
Exactly. What we'll do is once the first week we get them just concentrating on focusing on those 4 key areas and rating themselves. They send us in the scores every day. We compile that data in such a way that we can very quickly see if there's any particular area that's out of balance. So if, say for an example, they might have very strong relationships and they might have phenomenal personal growth, but then maybe their health is out of balance. So what we like to do is, again, by getting everything in balance, there's a nice flow to it. Because I don't care who you are, how much money you make, how great your relationships or anything else. If any of those key areas are out of balance, you really are not living to your full potential. So again, it's all about to focus on those areas, but then getting those areas balanced and then maintaining it as well.
And interestingly, Patrick, just to ask you, and then we'll come on to a little break in just a short moment, but this is the Work-Life Balance Show. And usually I ask my guests at the end of the show, but I'm gonna bring it in a little bit earlier, actually, because of the conversation we're having now. And work-life balance, I usually put to my guests, what does work-life balance mean to you? And a lot of people get really hung up on the word balance, actually, I have found. And they'll push back with things such as, well, there never is a balance because it is always a sort of juggle from one extreme to the other, depending on what's going on in one's life. And I can understand that because there are things that change and come unexpectedly. So what is the definition of that balance to you, and say work-life balance? Is it like an equal playing field across those categories? Just wondering what that means to you.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. For me, balance to me is primarily making sure that any of those 4 key areas are not in an area where there's, concern. That they don't have to be, perfectly balanced. That's what it's about. But what you don't want to do is have Your finances, for an example, doing extremely, you're doing awesome, you're doing great with your finances, but yet your health is poor. You want to
Yeah.
make sure that there's some sort of balance. Doesn't have to be exactly, but there's got to be balance, and the key to it as well is maintaining that balance, because it's not like you just all of a sudden you get everything balanced and that's it, it's over. You have
Yeah.
to, you know yourself, you have to work on it every day, and that's where the focus comes in, but you work on it every day to ensure that you maintain that balance as well, which is the key.
Yeah, yeah. And I really love that explanation actually, because um, we don't really, when those extremes are happening, is then some, we know if those extremes are continuing for too long, then there's going to be something that potentially is going to crop up that we're not going to be wanting to experience.
Exactly, yeah,
Um,
exactly. And that's exactly
that's why I
what
think
happened
that.
to me. Again,
Yes.
that's exactly what happened to me. My work was phenomenal. I was doing very well with my business. Was doing exceptionally well. But then
Yeah.
again, I wasn't looking after my health, and then that flowed into other areas of the life. So now it's just all about maintaining a nice, even balance.
Love that. Love that. All right. Well, let's just take a moment, play a track, and we'll come back and carry on with the conversation in just a moment.
Look forward to it.
Okay, it's back here in the studio. It's Melissa Gale, the Work-Life Balance Show, and it's just gone 2:30. And I'm here with Patrick Callahan, who is a personal development consultant. And we're talking about personal development, self-help, and creating that lasting change. And Patrick is also creator of One Source Personal Development Network. Now, Patrick, we have been sort of first part of the show talking about, the key focus areas that you cover in respect of looking at relationships and health, personal growth, finances that you touch on. And then the second key area being balance, and not necessarily meaning that it's balance of equalness, but that we're not going in any extremes in any of those key areas that I just sort of mentioned. And the third part I understand is purpose, which is really important and a really important part of your program.
Absolutely. Your purpose is primarily the glue that holds everything together. It's the why you're doing what you're doing. So, like I say, it's one thing, yeah, it's one thing to know what you're focusing on, and it's another thing to making sure that you're achieving and maintaining balance. But if you don't know why you're doing it, what's the end game? What's the objective? Well, you're gonna lose momentum. You're not gonna be motivated to take the daily consistent actions that are gonna be required in order to create lasting change. Because
Mm.
in my opinion, well, everything if all change comes from taking action. If you want to create lasting change, you can go to school, you can read the books, you can listen to the audio programs, but unless you get up and start taking consistent action, nothing's going to change. So, again, that's where your purpose comes in. If you know why you're doing something, if you can create a clear enough vision of, not just what you have to do, or, but more, what's the end game? What are you going to achieve from it? That's what's going to motivate you. That's what's going to get you going.
And would your why, or for the people that you're assisting with this whole development and personal growth and lasting change, does their why actually tie back into those four key areas? I.e., is it their why because of their health? Is it because of their relationships, their finances, um, personal growth?
Yeah,
Does it sort of tie back in? It ties back into those four key areas, does
one,
it?
yeah, 100%. What we'll do is when we're doing when we're working with somebody as a consultant, we'll get them to identify what do you want with your relationships, and be very specific. We'll spend a good bit of time finding out exactly what they want in their relationships, exactly what they want for their level of health. say what they want for their growth and what they want with their finances. And again, you what all we're doing is we're starting from where they are now to where do they want to be, either 3 months, 6 months, 12 months from now. And then we're bridging the gap. We're making sure that we're putting together actions they can take on a consistent basis that are going to get them from where they are now to where they want to be. But again, those actions need something. You need something to motivate you, and that's where the why comes in. Um, I'm not sure if you're familiar with some of the original personal development books, or even going back to Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
I've read that.
Yeah, it's a great book, but
Yeah,
it's not just about where people get caught up is they think it's all about money.
exactly. And it's not, is it?
No, not at all.
No, no.
Absolutely, it's not.
Mm,
There's the whole key to Think and Grow Rich is your definite major purpose,
yeah,
knowing what you want, and just as importantly, knowing why you want it.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
everything else will come together. So again, that's what we base our purpose on, knowing exactly what you want, but why do you want it?
Mm.
And and that's really what ties it all together for us anyway, and the clients that we work with. But we have a
And
system for it.
do you find that your clients actually come up with an easy understanding of their purpose? Because sometimes my experience has been that people actually are a little bit confused by what their purpose is.
Yeah, no, it comes down to key words. Like for an example, uh, I'll share my purpose. Okay, my purpose is to live my life on a daily basis as a happy, well balanced, strong, independent man. The reason I want to do that is because I know living this lifestyle, well, it's going to create amazing relationships with my wife, my kids, my friends, my family, my creator, and literally everyone I come into contact with.
Mm.
I know it's going to give me, higher levels of health and fitness so I can, have more energy and have the longevity to enjoy life to the absolute fullest. I know it's going to help me to grow more and improve my skills so I have more to give and more to contribute. And I know it's going to help create security for me financially. But again, so I
Yeah,
know what I want. I want to live my life as a happy, well balanced, strong, independent man. That's what I want. I know why I want it. Why do I want it? Because, well, primarily it's going to help me in all those key areas with my relationships, with my health, with my growth, and my finances.
yeah.
That's how we tie it all together, yeah. But it's the key words. And not only just knowing the key words, like when I say I want to be happy, okay, what does happy mean to you? I have a very clear definition. Like for me, happiness means being satisfied, being content. It's not about enjoyment. It can be both, but I think a
Mm.
lot of people mix up the two. They think that
Mm.
primarily in order for you to be happy, you have to enjoy it. And that's great if you can. If you can enjoy the process, all the better. But it doesn't always work that way. Like I'll give you an example. Going to the gym. Most people, well, I personally, I don't really enjoy going to
Or
the
me.
gym. No, I don't think most people do. But I tell you what, when I get done with a workout and I'm stepping out of there, I'm happy.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Or on the flip side, I really enjoy taking a night off, eating pizza, watching Netflix, and even having maybe a drink or two. I mean, I enjoy that. But when I get up the next morning, it doesn't make me happy. When I think that I blew
Yeah.
off the day, I ate too many calories, maybe I did some drink more than I should have, or anything like that. Yeah, you enjoyed it, you had a good time, but it doesn't make you happy.
Mm.
So again, so
Yeah.
I know when I say happy, I'm satisfied, I'm content. When I talk about being well balanced, well, I know the four key areas. I know where I want to be, and I'm using my system, so I know I'm balanced in those key areas. When I say I want to be strong, well, not just physically, but emotionally, and knowing I have the self discipline to do what needs to be done when it needs to be
Yeah.
done. And again, independence, well, that just means self reliance to me. So again, so I know the keywords and I know what they mean and I know what the result, why I'm doing it, that I'm trying to seek. And that's what we try to
Yeah.
teach people.
And what I'm hearing, what I love about what you just kind of shared and explained there, Patrick, as well, is to me it was almost like hearing your own personal mission and vision statement. The mission statement within what you're about and how you see and want things to be as well, and also acknowledging that those key words and phrases that you presented are your key words and phrases which you give definition to as well, and that each and every person will have their own definition of what it means to them in
Exact.
their situation, and what they choose is something that choose their goal, their idea of what their purpose is.
100% correct. That's exactly what we do. We work with them and we get them to identify. And you just made a statement there that actually that resonated with me. It to me it's all about a code of conduct that you conduct yourself by. And it's funny because when I originally created the system, like I say, I never planned on turning it into the business or anything like that. I had no intention of doing any of the things that I'm doing now. But primarily, I refer to it as my code of three. And it
Okay.
was my code of conduct. And the code of three stood for focus, balance, and purpose. Um, Truthfully, the only reason I ever started calling it the One Source Personal Development System is because I owned a business that was called One Source Consulting. you know, so I just tied it into that. But originally, it was called the Code of Three.
I quite like the code of three. I do also like as well one source personal development network, but the code of three is cool as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get that. And yes, the code of conduct. I mean, I think we innately as human beings want to have that sort of sense of belonging and sense of structure and guidance, which helps us um, keep on a path, on a route as such, which is to our benefit.
Yes. Yeah. You're so right. That's exactly what
Yeah,
it's all about.
yeah, yeah. And the clients that you actually assist, help, am I understanding that it's individuals one to one, but also do you go into organizations as well and provide a sort of group program as such where you all work together and then provide that motivation and that momentum and keep them on top of the sort of accountability of what they need to be doing?
Yeah. What we do is we work with a number of different businesses. Like there's a bunch of us primarily that are involved in this. I created the system, but right now we have consultants in the UK. We've got a few of them in the UK. We got a few of them in the States. We got a couple of them here in Ireland, and we're trying to actually expand at the moment. But again, we all use the same system. That's the key. We all use
Mm.
the exact same system, so there's no variation any way, shape, or form. But we do have a 10-week program where we go ahead, we work with businesses, and we will go in and we will meet with their staff. Now we're doing it via Zoom, and we will meet with
Yeah.
their staff, and we will go ahead and make sure that everything is in balance and whatnot, but in a very non-invasive way. Again, it's all about teaching them the system, and then we will hold them accountable through emails and whatnot. But businesses really benefit from it because you know their most valuable resource is primarily their staff, their employees.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so making sure that that they're all in a peak state, and making sure that they're maintaining that balance and they're living a life with purpose, which is really beneficial. But we'll go in and we'll
Yeah.
spend 10 weeks with them and hold them accountable.
Yeah. And are you dealing with people, say, within more senior line management role responsibilities? or is it people of all levels across the board within an organization?
All levels. I myself, I've worked with a number of different uh, C-suite type of clients, as far as rather CEOs or high-level executives and whatnot, peak performance. But the nice thing about it is, I don't care if you're a senior level executive just looking to take things to the next level, or if you're a single mother of three just looking to, basically create a bit of, um, you know, I guess, certainty in your life, and just trying to help meet the bills and maybe put a bit of food on the table for the kids. It doesn't matter. You can use it to quit smoking, reduce your alcohol intake, lose weight, or you could use it to train to run marathons or create worldwide, global charities. Whatever you want to do, we can design the system around that.
Yeah, to create that change. What have you? What I think would be really, really lovely, actually, Patrick. And I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but have you any sort of key standout, sort of real noticeable turnaround moments where someone has kept in touch with you, or really sort of shared such a positive experience with you that maybe they may have embarked on the journey not quite expecting such a turnaround of results. Have you had that experience with some of your clients?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, all the consultants I was telling you about a moment ago that are working
Yeah,
with us the ones in the UK, the ones here in Ireland, the ones in the
yeah,
States, they're all clients. The way that the system is set up is, before you can go on and start working with others, you have to use the system for a minimum of 6 months. So each and every individual right now that is sharing the system has done it for a minimum of 6 months. And that's the reason that I insist that they are client first, they continue to use the system, is, well, because I want to make sure that, first off, that they see the results for themselves, that they,
yeah,
they can see the benefits, and they can go ahead and they can enjoy those benefits, but more or less, well, they believe in this system because they know that it works. They make the best consultants. Like, I
of
could easily go
course.
out there and get business consultants and do like a 1 week training seminar where I teach you the system and you can go out there and share it. But you're not going to have
Yeah,
the belief in it. You're not going to know the benefits. So each and every client. So if you come across a one source personal development consultant, you can be assured that they've been a client for at least 6 months, most of them much longer, but at least 6 months, and they still use it on a daily, single basis. And they're always accountable to somebody as well. So it's
yeah.
not as if they just say they're using it. No, we hold them accountable as well. So yeah, everybody involved is using it. And they've all had amazing stories, which is generally the reason they choose to get involved.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. So it sounds to me as if they're pretty much eating, breathing, and living the code of conduct, the conduct of three.
Exactly, the code of three, 100%. But
The code of three.
but it's rewarding because if you think about it, if you can make a living doing something you're passionate about, and they're all passionate about personal development, and you can go ahead and help people while helping yourself,
Mm,
because trust me, if you're doing this each and every day, you're out there, you're talking it, you're working with people, it's going to have a big impact on your own life, and you're
of
using the
course.
system. So yeah,
Yeah.
it really is a win-win for everybody involved.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, look, we're sadly coming to the end of our time, Patrick, but it's been an absolutely awesome afternoon talking to
Well,
you.
I
It's
appreciate
been
that very much.
it's been very, very interesting indeed. Um, should our listeners want to get in contact with you or find out a little bit more, where would they go to and how would they go about contacting you, Patrick?
I tell you what they can do is they can log on to the website. Uh, the website is www.onesource, OneSourceICT.com. So if they go on to OneSourceICT.com, they can go ahead and they can learn more about the systems we do, and Actually, we have live trainings that we're doing via Zoom at the moment, and
Great.
we would give you the first session free. So if anybody wants to log on, they can go into, like I say, just drop us a quick email or email me directly, Patrick at OneSourceICT. I'll go ahead and make sure that you get set up. We'll get them logged into one of our Zoom sessions, and they can do the first session free. And if they want to continue it on from there, that's fantastic.
Brilliant. Brilliant. A good way to sort of try it out and dip a toe in the water and then hopefully embark on a whole new journey. Patrick, thank you so much once again. It's been a pleasure. I wish you all the very well for
Melissa,
2021.
thank you. I appreciate you having me, and it has been absolute joy to be here today. So all the best to
Wonderful.
you and yours. All right. God bless.
Yeah,
Bye
thank you
bye.
so much. All right.